Last week, we left off with the children of Israel giving and providing offerings to build the tabernacle and the priestly garments. The people were giving cheerfully, so cheerfully that the workers had to inform Moses that they were getting too much. So Moses had to tell the people that he had to stop the people from giving because they were cheerfully giving and overgiving. Also, as you has been reading and studying the book of Exodus, as you went through that, you do recognize that Yehovah continually repeated himself and kept reminding the people to keep his Sabbaths. That's a Sabbath with the S. So that's the weekly Sabbath and the high holy Sabbaths for the feast. Welcome to Reconcile the Kingdom, where we're working towards becoming in harmony of the whole word of truth. My name is PATRICE Robinson, and I appreciate you stopping by on today. We are going to go through the significant events of Exodus chapters 37 through 40. So this week we actually have 3 chapters that we're going to just point out some things. And that's because chapter 40 will be floating there by itself. And I wanted to keep them together as we go through this first cycle of the book of Exodus. So chapter 37, this is a short chapter, but powerful due to Bezalel continue to work on the construction of the tabernacle, the furniture. So he began to follow the instructions of the Ark of the Covenant. It was 45 inches long, 27 inches wide, 27 inches high, and overlaid with gold with rings for the poles that will always remain in this place. On top, he hammered 2 cherubims that were facing each other, looking down at the atonement cover with the wings overlaid with gold. He continued to the table of showbread. The table of showbread was 36 inches long, 18 inches wide, 27 inches high, also overlaid with gold, with a 3-inch border around with rings for poles to carry, but the poles did not remain in the structure like the Ark of Covenant. Then the lampstand. The lampstand had 6 branches coming out of the stem, 3 on each side. The lamp cups were shaped like almond blossoms with petals and buds. This was made from 75 pounds of pure gold. The altar of incense was 18 inches square, 16 inches high, with horns on each corner, all overlaid with gold. The altar also had rings for poles that did not remain in the structure like the Ark of the Covenant. Remember, there were specific oil and incense used for the altar, so you could not offer strange fire. Chapter 38, the altar of burnt offering. It is square with 7.5 feet wide, 7.5 feet long, 4.5 feet high. There were horns on each corner overlaid with bronze. There were tools, utensils, and buckets, and shovels, and basins, and meat forks, and fire pans for the Ark of Burnt Offering. He made bronze grating hallway down the side of the altar. There were rings of poles overlaid with bronze, made hollow with planks. There was a washband made of bronze by mirrors that were donated by the women. The courtyard, the curtains were made with From the south side, 150 feet long. From the north, 150 feet long. From the west, 75 feet long. And from the east, 75 feet long. All with bronze bases with silver hooks and rings. Then we have the entrance of the courtyard. There were 2 curtains. On the right side, it was 22 and a half feet long. Then on the left side, you had 22 and a half feet long with bronze base and silver hooks and rings. The hanging of the gate with beautiful blue and purple scarlet was 30 feet long. The height was 7.5 feet with a post overlaid with silver along with its hooks and rings. The chapter continue and talk about the cost of the tabernacle. Chapter 39. We have the clothing of the priest garments. It was made with purple and blue scarlet. The empire was made with finely woven lines and beat with gold, with blue, with purple, and scarlet thread. The 2 shoulder pieces that had the oxen stones with the children of Israel's name on there. Remember, that did not include Joseph's children. It was just Jacob's children, Israel. So they made the breastplate. They had the blue, the purple, and scarlet thread. And it had 12 stones with the children of Israel name on it, and it was sealed on it. There were a single blue robe. It had the pomegranates made of blue and purple scarlet. There were many other clothing items for the priestly garment, including the tunics and the sash. Then there was a crown that was engraved, Holy to Yehovah. This chapter 39, ends with Moses' inspection. So he is the reconstruction manager, because remember, the instructions were given to him, and then he provided instructions to Bezalel and the other workers on how to put this tabernacle together, and the items of the furniture and priestly garments according to what he was told and what he was shown. So it's important that he makes sure that it will pass Yehovah's inspection, because they had to follow all the instructions. Chapter 40. The work has passed Moses' inspection, and Yehovah gives instructions on how to set it all up, and it has to be set up on the first day of the first month. Yehovah explains to Moses where to put each item in the tabernacle, from the Ark of the Covenant to Aaron and his sons' garments. He also reminded Moses that Aaron's descendants will be the priests as a permanent statute. So this is Aaron's, the Levites, his descendants, or the priests, like we spoke before, and the other Levites had other duties to do. Now, I also want you to remember that there were 2 priesthoods that was going on, because remember, there's Melchizedek priesthood where Yeshua comes under. The day came and passed, and the day came, and Moses followed all the instructions from Yehovah. Then the glory came as a cloud and covered and filled the tabernacle. The glory of Yehovah filled the tabernacle so much that not even Moses was able to walk into the door of the tabernacle because it was filled with his glory. The cloud of glory led the children of Israel by day and fire by night. So today's focus is on the house of Israel. Here we have the congregation, the assembly, the house of Israel together, the church, if you will. The house of Israel is one house with one covenant, with Yehovah dwelling in the midst of them. No one had to wonder who is Yehovah they all knew who he was because he was with them. They witnessed his glory, his power, his wisdom, his provision, and much, much more. The people weren't called Jews, nor were they called Judeans. They were called Hebrews, again under one king, Yehovah. Yehovah and his kingdom and his rules, all under one house of Israel. Once you get to the book of Samuel, you will see the people ask for a human king. Even after they've been through so much with Yehovah and witnessed his grace, his mercy, and his power time and after time, they rejected him and asked for a human to govern over them. The house of Israel was blessed to have Yehovah near them. As much as they seen and witnessed, it was just a blessing to be in the midst of that. And to have such great instructions to live by. There was no other nation in the world that had this great instructions to live by. No other nation. I recommend everyone to go over the entire playlist of Exodus and just let things start to ponder and focus on the book of Exodus, because there you have the first congregation, the first assembly. You will see Jehovah's kingdom being built, the covenant with the first assembly. Join me on Saturday at 10 a.m. for our series of A Kingdom of Covenants. This is our new series. And then I will see you on Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. for Torah Chat Points. And we will finish our final episode of Exodus. As always, man does not live by bread alone, but he lives by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yehovah. And that's the Torah. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.